Just sitting here drinking the last little bit of my now cold coffee. Today I was reading in the DP Review forum someone discussing the Canon IPF PRO-1000, the so-called PRO-1000, which is a 17-inch version, really of the Pro-1 kind of, sort of, but it's fully redesigned and apparently quite a wonderful printer. The only thing that's a negative about it is the fact that it's limited to 17 by now with a new firmware, about 25 point something inches in length. So no panoramas coming out of that baby. Now, it has some idiosyncrasies that are just pretty much inherent to Canon printers. And a lot of information and a lot of misinformation and disinformation about that printer and the so-called preempted cleaning cycles. It's been discussed by people who supposedly went to Photokina just recently, talked to the actual Canon representatives there. And then, of course, people that do the very thorough reviews, you might know who that is. They're from the UK. And there's a lot of controversy as to what is actually taking place. Can they be not prevented, but can they be predicted? And the answer is really no. Somebody suggested that there are sensors in the printer because it's a very sophisticated printhead assembly, just like the Pro-1 printhead. Pro-1 printhead is extremely sophisticated. It has built-in dampers, which then mate with the printhead assembly and actually mate with the incoming ink lines from the cartridges that are mounted adjacent, left and right. The Pro-1 has cartridges mounted on the bottom row, basically underneath the feed tray. And somebody suggested that there are sensors that measure humidity, measure all kinds of temperature parameters, and then start a short cleaning cycle, a long cleaning cycle, whatever length cleaning cycle you might need to reprime, to do this, to do that, all sorts of discussion. And really, it becomes rather confusing for just a regular person buying this printer. If you are just a hobbyist, you might reconsider buying something like the IPF PRO-1000. It's quite a sophisticated machine and one that you better be ready to pay for, okay? You cannot refill it. There are no third-party choices for this printer. It uses a lot of ink for cleaning cycles. People have reported that they have filled 4 maintenance cartridges. Now, having maintenance cartridges is great because you don't have to worry about those internal ink pads of, say, the Pro-1, which when they become full, that's it. You have to send the printer in, possibly pay $400, $500, and you have to have a set of cards also included in there so that they can actually check it before they send it back to you. And so, yeah, it's not a printer for the weak of stomach, so to speak. And people have just jumped onto it, come to realize that, yeah, the prints are majestic, but they cost you a lot. So the recommendation is, and this is actually written by a pretty well-known and pretty respected person, a lot more than me, said if you're going to get the Pro-1000, start thinking about producing prints on very high-end papers. That way, if you are selling these prints, then it makes economic sense to use something like the Pro-1000 instead of using the Pro-1000 for the cheaper RC, Pro Luster, semi-gloss and that type of thing that costs you maybe 75 cents a sheet. Think about doing prints that are going to be worth a lot of money to you when you sell them, and that way the extra costs, operating costs actually of this printer, will not affect the budget as much because you will be generating a lot more money. You will not be selling prints made in PRO-luster at the prices that you're going to be selling if they are made with fancy fine art papers from Hanamill, from Canson, from Moab, and all of the other manufacturers that a box of paper is a couple $100. So yeah, so that is it. It's actually quite an interesting situation with it, and I have begun to kind of start seeing the same thing happening with the Pro-1. If I let it sit for several days, it will run quite a number of different sounding operations. I don't know whether one of them is an actual cleaning cycle, whether it's actually repriming the ink lines, what it is doing. And it will repeat doing that even though you just printed one picture just a few minutes ago. It will repeat doing that before you actually can print continuously without any happenings or any extra noises. It takes about 2 to 3 consecutive prints to get it to stop doing all kinds of noisy operations, which you wonder what actually is taking place. I'm still learning the printer, and again, I really don't want to jump into a PRO-1000 yet. It's just not worth it to me at this point, because there's no third-party choice. At least the Pro-1, we've been able to come up with a way to reuse the cartridges, and that's, I guess, thanks to my stubbornness and my instincts to always explore. And I figured out how to refill the cartridges. We have chips by Precision Colors and ink set from Precision Colors that is excellent. And so at least that printer now becomes a viable third-party option printer. The only other problem, of course, is the waste ink pads. But if there could be resolved as to be able to be used with any kind of good, in fact, Precision Colors could come up with an ink set for it, no problem whatsoever. He already said that would not be a problem. The problem would be the single-use chips that would have to be produced for it. And the cartridges are a little bit funny. Hang on one second. Here is an empty cartridge from the Pro-1000. Let me see if I can line this up. You see here, this is the chip housing, and it's loose. Listen to it. I'll put it next to my mic. It is loose. So you would literally have to remove this, and it's also situated laterally. You would have to remove this clip, take the little housing, remove the chip, put the new chip, and that housing may have to be modified like I have done on the PGI 29 carts, so that it can accept the probably and very likely fatter Chinese chips. And then reinsert it. This popped in. You can literally inject ink into these cartridges with a plain tip syringe without a problem. And I still have to figure it out what the capacity of these carts actually is. It says 70 ml, but I would have to figure it out literally by injecting water, and I haven't done that yet. So I will do that, even though it's kind of a futile experiment because we don't have a way to either reset them or we don't have any single-use chips for them yet. Probably they will. It seems to be a pretty popular printer, and that's what will stir the fire of creativity with these Chinese third-party hacker types that figure out ways to use reset or come up with a chip that can be used on these types of printers that are supposed to be unhackable. All right, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this little short video. Like I said, I'm going to do one tomorrow, and I'll show you the 5,000 subscribers. We're almost there, guys. So thank you once again. As always, please subscribe, click on that little bell, please share with the world, and like. YouTube loves when you like, and that helps the channel. Happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.